Good morning, or whatever time of the day it happens to be when you're listening to this, as always. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are tuned in to The Encourager, and today I want to share some facts and discoveries about the Ark and Noah and the Ark and that process and some facts that are kind of brushed over or in some cases really not delved into or spoken of today, that especially as far as synchronicity is concerned and the numbers and the measurements of the ark and truths about the number of animals that were on the boat or the ark and blah 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 blah, right? And this I've been encouraged to share this because last night I was meditating this morning at 3 o'clock or something, and Noah's Ark, the story about Noah's Ark was dropped in, downloaded, and I know that was for me to go in and do my own diligence, and so that's what I've been doing, and writing some things down. And so I want to share some things with you in regards to Noah's Ark and that lineage. There were bloodlines that were cursed because of certain actions in his children, and so then you're getting into historical things that we know to be true. So the battle between the Canaanites and the Semites, or Semites, however you want to pronounce it, and so that's what I'll be sharing. Thank you so much again for tuning in, all of the subscribers. If you're new listening in on the channel, thank you so much. My name is Nehru. You are tuned in to The Encourager, and I am here to heal, and I do that through unconditional love. I do that through my own journey, just merely by existing in my truth. And so I am walking karma in a way. I have realized that when I show up or someone's brought into my life, there's either healing or a lesson to be learned. Or exposure. Okay, so those are the three reasons why I show up in someone's life. Okay, either healing, exposure, or karma. Okay, and so when we look at Noah's Ark, just knowing from I'll start from when I was a child growing up, right? So I grew up really kind of under the church, which is part of the problem with most of the church today. And again, I won't go on one of my church rants. I share enough of that on other videos. I'll spare you that today. I could hear someone saying thank you. Yeah, no problem. As a child, I grew up in Reverend Kevin Nehru Thomas, right? He was a reverend, right? He was that religious leader. And again, I'll spare you all of the stories about him because again, I feel like I reiterate those things in every single video, and it can get really redundant and monotonous to just keep telling everybody in every video that I lived, that he was a polygamist for 30 something years and I'm the eldest of 17. It gets kind of redundant. So I won't go into all of that. What I remembered as a child compared to what I know, even when I was a part of the religiousness of church and all of that for 20 something years, after I told him that I was not going to be a part of his ministry anymore, but I was getting out of the military, and Most High had a different plan for me. He was sending me to the Rock of Central Florida. Okay. And So as a child, I know I was taught just like you were that there are there was 2 animals of every kind that were on the boat. Okay. So first I'll share the lies that I was told, at least. And again, most of us were told these very same lies. So that there were 2 of every animal on the boat. So there was actually the only animal that were 2 of a kind were the unclean animals. Scripture tells us people don't read their Bibles. They just believe again, I'm not going to go on that rant, but people just believe what they're told, and they don't do their own due diligence, and they do not seek Yahweh God Most High for themselves. And so they're misled by the lies and the propaganda of the falseness. Okay? And so I grew up believing that there was 2 of every clean animal and 2 of every unclean animal. That's not true. There were 2 of every unclean animal, 7 of every clean animal, and 7 of every type of bird. Okay, so that means that there were 14 unclean. You get it? All right? And so, or set 14 clean. And so I think that's what I said. For some reason, I was reverberating unclean in my head. I might have said unclean. I don't know. But clean. And again, only 2 of every unclean. Man focuses on the lower, on the negative, man focuses on that. And that's just like the news. The news focuses on the lesser. It's rare that you would sit down and watch the 7 o'clock news and they would be giving you some good news every single day. At least one clip. They're on for 30 minutes, an hour in some cases, right? You can find a news channel that's nothing but news. Rarely are they sharing good news, positive things, right? They're telling you all the negative, bad things that are happening around the world, okay? That's what they're doing. So man focuses on the unclean. Most High desires that we focus on the clean. Okay? All right. So what else did I know as a kid, or was taught as a kid, in regards to Noah and the ark? I was never told. Okay, so that was definitely probably the core of it. Then I believe that, we're all like kind of descendants of him and his children, his wife, right, and all of them. Okay, because everyone else was wiped out. So let's get into it and discover 30 or so different facts or truths about Noah and the ark. Again, I mentioned the unclean and clean animals, okay? The ark took 100 years to build. Noah was 500 years old when he got the orders to start building this ark. Contrary to what's commonly said, he did know how to build ships because that was a common thing back then, right? Because fishing was a major business. So, and that was a major part of their food. So the major part of it was a major part of their source of sustainability. Fishing was, okay? And so he was a boat builder. One of the things that I was taught as a kid was that he didn't know what he was doing. It's not true. He did know. He was a boat builder, and he wasn't a righteous man. He was a sinner just like all the other ones, but in Most High's eyes, he saw Noah as righteous. And this could be because of Noah's bloodline. It could be because Noah, maybe he stole a bag of chips, but he didn't rob a bank. You know what I mean? And that's an analogy, obviously. There weren't physical banks back then. So for some reason, Most High viewed Noah as righteous, which is a very, very, very interesting point, and one that definitely needs to be brought out and corrected, in the fact that Noah was not a sinless man. Okay? He was not. He was good in God's eyes, and that's all that matters. But it also needs to be mentioned that he was sinning just like everyone else was. Okay? He was just chosen. Pure and simple, right? That's no different than me. I share my stories with you. I share with you about my '06 DUI and The time I was in Germany and I was sexually involved with a married woman. That did happen once in Germany. Only that one time. I felt like shit, needless to say. So with that, and the Father still chooses to bless me. I am still part of the 144,000. I'm still part of the chosen. I'm still an earth angel. I'm still an ascended master descended to heal. I'm still that extraterrestrial healer, Egyptian shaman, bloodline. I'm still that, even though I've sinned. Does that make sense? I know it. Yeah, it does make sense, right? So I think that's how he saw Noah. You know, but amongst the filth that I have to choose from, it's kind of like voting for the president in the United States, right? Looking at the candidates here in the U.S. for presidency or any other political office for that matter, right? They're all decrepit, piss poor. They're gonna lie. They're gonna deceive. When they get in office, they're gonna 11-11 on the timer when I look. They're going to lie. They're going to deceive. They're going to manipulate you. When they get in office, they're not going to do everything that they say they're going to do. They're going to get in there, and then they're going to have the lobbyists and everybody else pulling for them, and then they're going to change their mind like Obama and say before his first election, I don't support same-sex marriage, and then in order to get reelected, say I do support same-sex marriage. So, yeah, you're really choosing the best of a dirty bunch. Right? So just pick the best of the filth, I guess is the way that the voting really thought process goes, because they all have dirt. They all do. Okay? Right? And anyone who's running for presidency or any political office for that matter, when you're running for a position where the people elect, you need to know for sure that they're going to try to dig up dirt on you. The opponent is, or they are, or whoever else, right? So this is why I have no problem. And a long time ago, I got comfortable with the truth, okay? And so so for instance, I did not finish school because I got sick, okay? I was diagnosed with IgG4 nephropathy. That rare autoimmune virus attacked both of my kidneys. In 2012 is when it climaxed, around September-ish, when I lost, I don't even know how much weight. I'm skinny today. I'm small today. When I say skinny, I mean, because I don't eat, I don't know. I don't even eat 2 full meals a day. And so I was actually looking at my video the other day when I was at the park, and I was like, wow, my face is like I've definitely slimmed down, probably a little too much. And again, a lot of that has to deal with my spiritual journey and me eating to live rather than living to eat. Okay, I didn't mean to go on that little journey, but yeah, so even me, and I gain and lose weight really, really easily. Intermittent fasting is my go-to. Okay, so I can gain 5 pounds, right, really, really fast, and I can also lose 5 pounds, in that same amount of time, in a 3-day span with intermittent fasting. I could easily drop 5 pounds. Easily in a 72-hour period. Easily. My body just functions that way. Okay? But I did notice that, yes, I definitely I could stand to put on some few pounds. I haven't had red meat in a long time, which might be part of it because, I don't know, I just haven't. I haven't had steak, burgers, and all that in a minute. And so that's a lot of it. But anyway, so Noah was 500 years old when he started building the ark. Can you imagine being 500 years alone and being 500 years, right? He lived to be 950 years old. Okay, 950 years old. He lived 350 more years. Is that correct? Let me check and see. I think it was 950. Yep, 950 years old. Okay, 350 years after the flood stopped. The flood lasted for an entire. They were on the boat, right, for 110 days. Okay, so there's another fact. They were on the ark for 110 days. We talk about synchronicity, 110. Okay, so you can look at that as an 11. Okay. So in the book of Enoch, you will not find the book of Enoch in the Bible. The book of Enoch, you'll have to go find the book of Enoch. Okay, you'll have to do your own due diligence. Okay, and I'm in the process of sharing that book. When I get better situated, I will be, and I'll be sharing a lot, and I'll be posting multiple videos a day at that, when I get reestablished and all of that. Okay. But in the book of Enoch, the children born to Noah. Okay. So Noah had 3 sons. He had those sons when those children were born. I mean, he was 500 years approximately when those children were born. Okay. Again, can you imagine being 500 years old and having 3? But he lived back in the time when there were giants. Okay. And so he lived in an age where men were larger. And in fact, the Nephilim, right? They are referred to as the giants of old, they're referred to as the giants of old. Okay. And so his children, okay, born between the descendants of Seth are the sons, okay, and the descendants of Cain are the daughters. Okay, and again, this is shared in the book of Enoch. Okay, this, when they were married, made up the Nephilim. Okay, and again, this is considered the giants, or the heroes of old is the phrase that I saw. Okay. I mentioned that the Most High chose Noah because he could actually build ships. Methuselah, I've mentioned this before, Methuselah is Noah's grandfather, okay? And Noah's father is Limesh, although his mother's name has not surfaced anywhere, her formal name. But we do know his father's name. We do know his grandfather's name. In those times, it makes sense because of the way that they saw women at that time. Okay? So it would make sense that many of the women that were married to these men were often not mentioned. Again, that's because of the times. Okay? And the way that women were viewed, I believe. Okay? Noah is the 10th generation descendant of Adam. Okay? Again, synchronicity. On the ship for 110 years, 10th generation descendant of Adam. Okay? Noah was a farmer. Okay? Noah was also the first drunk. Okay? The Bible, despite its shallowness in the truth, the Bible does mention him falling out drunk in a tent. Now here is where the curse or curses start to come in. And this is why it's said that this is the first curse in Bible. Everything that happened in the Bible that happened once happened in the book of Genesis. The first sin, the first reset for man, really. There'll be another one. The age of Aquarius. We're right around the corner from it. What was I going to say? The first sin, The first of everything, the first adultery, the first fornication, the first homicide, the first all of those are found in the book of Genesis. Okay? The first. All right? So, he was the first drunk. Right? So, where did the curse come from? Okay? So, the curse came from when his sons came in and saw him drunk. So, they had a choice. So, the first son, or one son who came in and saw him drunk, Ham, he saw him and saw his nakedness, right? And he didn't cover him up or anything. He just left him there. Okay? But Shem and Japheth, they covered their dad, and in fact, specifically it states they walked in backwards in order to not even look upon him, and they covered him up. And because of their actions, Shem and Japheth were blessed, and Ham was cursed. Okay? And this launched the fight between the descendants of Ham and Canaan and the descendants of Shem, the Semites, which I mentioned a moment ago. Okay? So where is the ark today? I'll save that for the last. All right. So what was the ark made of? Okay. So in the King James Version of the Bible, we're told that it is gopher wood. Okay. However, archaeologists, whatever, say that there's no tree today that is a gopher wood tree. What I do believe is possible is that Most High supplied Noah with the trees for the right type of wood to build an ark that was going to sustain the flood and the occupants. And that tree doesn't exist today. Or at least it stays hidden from man's prying eyes. You know what I mean? Kind of like the Garden of Eden. It was here. It was. Right? Can't see it with our physical eyes, but it was here. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, when I looked at the timer. So it is, yeah, right? So that's a possibility. Some say, right, that the scholars effed it up and they used the wrong word. So instead of gopher wood, the NIV uses cypress wood, which we have cypress trees today. The Phoenicians used cypress wood, in the building of their ships and things any other thing that they were building, right? So in a way, I kind of see that as man kind of appeasing his thought about the ark and all of that, which I don't like because, yeah, there are many mysteries that man does not know today that are still right here on the earth. Again, giants being discovered in Minnesota, right? That stuff is not in the news. You have to go look for that and find out that archaeologists are unearthing giants in Minnesota. You have to find that stuff out, all right? Because that stuff's not in the headline news. The drive-by is in the headline news. The police officer that got off for unaliving the innocent victim, right? Or even if they're guilty, you're not you unaliving them and then you get off scot-free, right? Again, I'm trying to avoid those rants so I don't just yeah. So the measurements of the ark. Okay, so a cubit, and this was interesting to find out, a cubit is considered from your elbow to your middle finger of a male. That is considered, of an adult male. That is considered a cubit, elbow to middle finger. Okay, approximately 15 to 20 inches, right? Elbow to middle finger. That's approximately a cubit. Okay, so the ark was 300 cubits. Okay, so using this measurement, we get 450 feet by 75 feet by 45 feet, or 1.5 million cubic feet. Okay, or enough to contain 1,300 20-foot shipping containers. As a reference, the Titanic was 3 times the size of the Ark, to give you an idea. Okay? Right. So, the ratio that Noah used, that Most High gave him to use, in building this 30 to 5 to 3, that unit of measure to build ships was used all the way up until the 1900s, which I think is amazing. That's amazing, right? That we still use that measurement, thousands of years after Noah. I think that's amazing. And so approximately 16,000 animals, and again, approximately 16,000 animals were on this vessel for 110 days. And this is accounting for room for sleeping, room for feeding, room for storage, and you needed all those sorts of things. It just wasn't a barn. I mean, you had to have accommodations and things on there. So, right at the end of the 110 days, Noah sends the dove out. The dove comes back with an olive branch, and on the 111th day, right, the flood had ceased again. 111. Okay, synchronicity. Most High and his numerology is impeccable, and I love it. I love the synchronicities. I love that they are all over my life. I enjoy that. And again, I'm a numbers guy. I remember numbers very easily. I might not remember your name. I'll remember your face 50 years from now, but I won't, because I'll remember your eyes. But I won't remember your name, tomorrow, because I don't remember your name tomorrow, right? Yeah, so numerology has always been a big part of my guidance system. And so hopefully you're recognizing some synchronicities with numbers and things in your life. If you're seeing the same number over and over again, when you look at the clock, I remember hearing this guy, his name is Jim Schneider. And I remember one time he came to the Rock, and the Rock of Central Florida. And he said, and seeing synchronicities, and he didn't call them synchronicities. It's kind of like people will tell you the religious sect has different words. So they will tell you Jesus performed miracles, but they will never tell you that Jesus was an alchemist. Because the alchemist is a spiritual term. So they won't tell you he was an alchemist, which he was. He turned water to wine, fed thousands with 2 loaves and a couple fish. I mean, how do you do that? You have to be able to miraculously multiply something. You have to be able to flip-flop something, change something. You got to be able to do that, right? So he's an alchemist, right? But man uses the word miracle in order to keep us from spirituality, and that's a truth. Okay? So, yeah, right? So the 16,000 animals approximately, it was 3 stories, this ark was. There was no steering in this ark. Most High guided the ship. The water swelled to 23 feet above regular sea level, whatever that was at that time, right? 23 feet, okay? So it rained for 40 days. And again, here's another synchronicity. And as soon as I say the number, I'm going to talk about Yeshua's time. 40 days and 40 nights were the rains. Okay? And immediately I go, I bless the rains down in Africa. Take the time to do some things we never... I don't remember that song. But it's a good song. It's a good feeling song, actually. So 40 days, 40 nights it rained. Water swelled to 23 feet above sea level. Okay? 150 days of flooding. That's how long the waters were sustained without going down. So they stayed at 23 feet above sea level, or above where they originally were, right? before they decided to were receding, and they receded for another 100 years. I mean days. So 250 days, okay, between the flood days and the receding days, okay. So again, 110 days, Noah and his family spent on the ark. Okay. Wait a minute here. I'm thinking about something. Okay. So, and I was just looking at this here for a moment. So 150 days of flooding, 100 days of receding, and then 110 days after that. Okay? So that's the 360, right? Days of 65 approximately days of the year, right? So that's what that total is there, and that's what I was confirming within myself. So so Noah, the reason, well, he was a farmer, I mentioned, right? So he had a vineyard after the ark and all that, vineyard. And this is where he got his wine to get drunk. Okay? So it could be said that he had the first winery, right? But he was a farmer and he had a vineyard, and this is why he created his own drink, moonshine, right, Noah? And so I mentioned Noah lived to be 950 years, 350 years after the flood. So the flood, or so the ark, where is it today? Okay, so the ark today, it is said, and you can find this in Scripture. Both those have been those things that have been removed from the Bible, the 45 books, and within the Bible, you can find that it mentions Mount Ararat. Okay, and today there is an impression in the earth that measures approximately 300 cubic feet by 75 and 45, right? There is this imprint in the earth, literally on Mount Ararat. Okay? Some who are skeptic say, no, that's not it. Again, we have free will to believe whatever we want to. I don't believe in anything such as a coincidence. Okay? So it's funny that people believe in God until God tells them the truth, and then they decide they don't want to believe in God. Isn't that interesting? 3333. Why is it that when we, and this is something Steve would say, everybody wants you to be more Christ-like. They want you to be more Christ-like. They're not looking at themselves. They want you to be more Christ-like until you become more Christ-like. Okay? And so people have this misconception about Yeshua, and that he was a doormat and he was this meek and humble. Absolutely not. He was an authority. He was a judge. He was karma in this earth. He was the judge sent here to judge the earth. Okay? That's who he's, the second Adam. That's who he is. Okay? He wasn't a doormat. That's why he beat their asses when they were gambling in the synagogue. That's in your Bible. Why do people think that Yeshua was a pushover? Why do they think that? Because he had a great balance of logic, emotions, spirituality, right? He had this perfect balance within himself. Okay? My goal and I say my goal, you're playing in the NBA or any other professional sport. As a child, if you start out with that goal as a child, that is all you see every day, all day. You dream it, you sleep it. I remember hearing stories about Magic Johnson growing up in Michigan, and he'd be practicing in the snow. And we know it snows a lot in Michigan. They have some pretty harsh winters up there, right? He would be practicing in the snow with snow on the basketball court. He'd be out there bouncing that basketball. Okay? Tiger Woods picking up a club at the age of 2. Okay? Wayne Gretzky. You can go on and on and on and on and on, right? But they started out, these individuals, they started out early in their passions. Okay? And the sooner we find out why we're here, the better we're going to be, because then we can alleviate choices that do not coincide with that journey. And man, is that so good. When we come to accept who we really truly are and why we're here, it helps us to make choices that coincide with that journey and not choices that are opposed to that journey. Okay? All right? So, for me, this is my goal. And I was overwhelmed with religion as a kid. This is why I went to Kevin and said, and asked him, can we take a break from God? Like, can we take a break from being a Christian? Or, I don't know how exactly I put it. I think I was 11 or 12. We were living in our second house in Beacon Ridge. I remember the day. I remember exactly. He was outside doing something with the fence, maybe feeding the dog. We had a Doberman named King. I'm not sure. He was outside in the backyard in Beacon Ridge at that townhouse doing something in Bolingbrook, Illinois. And I went out there and I just asked him. I was like, Daddy, can we take a break from God? And he was laughing. He was like, no, son, you can't take a break. But I was at 11 or 12 years old. I was like, God damn, these are a lot of rules. Shit, you know? And that's just funny to me that a kid would ask that. I remember, and I'll be going. I will. I'll be going after a couple minutes. Again, my job is to share whatever is in me at the time when I press play. Okay, if you need to go, come back and listen to it again, or catch up, or what have you, pause it. Again, feel free. But my job is to emanate, release, dispel, or whatever he gives me, whatever Most High Divine Source, Yahweh God, gives me to say. Okay. I remember a kid, he has to be probably 7, and again, this is at the Rock of Central Florida. I was there for 20 years. This guy, he was a great kid, very in tuned. He was one of the kids that would come over and hold my hand during the praise and worship, during the song part of service. And he'd done it, he'd do it more than once. But he was probably 7 at this time. Steve was speaking about Adam and Eve and sitting in the garden, and Steve was taking questions. His name is Eric. I won't say his last name. He's an adult today, but I won't say his last name. Eric asked a question. Eric said, he raised his hand, right? And Steve says, well, what do you have, Eric? What do you want to ask? Right? And by the way, that's a good thing. Most parents would be like, sit down, shut up, don't ask, don't put your hand down. Put your hand down. Woo! I got a whole lot of correction for parents out there. A whole lot, and how we've trained up our children in the way that they should not go, and they have departed from Most High. I have a whole lot for parents out there. Micromanagers also, and then at the other end of the spectrum, extreme carelessness. And the legal system that puts these kids into the hands of the women over the men, even though the men proved themselves to be accountable and faithful. Again, I hope to be changing some laws. I hope, if no, in no other land, in the one in which I dwell, I hope to be changing some laws over time. So Eric asked a question when Steve mentioned Adam and Eve and Adam hiding from the Father when the Father came in the cool of the day looking for Adam, saying, you fucked up, Adam. Where you at? Yeah. I know you did. And I knew you were going to. You know why? Because I told you not to go near the tree. You did not pay attention to where your spouse was going. I gave her to you. You were not accountable for her. She went over to the tree and got bit by the serpent. And now his venom is in you because you took of the fruit. And so now I got to kick your ass and her out of the garden. And you are now to be sentenced to the cave of treasures. And that cave of treasures is where Adam and Eve dwelled for the remainder of their natural life. Okay? Eric asked the question, why didn't Adam just be honest? Why was he hiding? And I was just like, you better ask that fucking question, Eric. You better ask that question. Why wasn't he just honest? And again, this is why I check myself on this channel, and I will forever, so I'm not standing up in front of somebody one day, some journalist or reporter or whatever, right, on some podcast, and someone asks me a question about my past, and because I've hidden whatever for so long, I say, I feel like I have to lie in order to keep my reputation up. This is why I put it all out there. Put it all out there. You ask me a question, I have no qualms with whatsoever, because I don't care about your opinion. Kobe Bryant said, young in his career in the NBA, he had shot, it was his first season. He had shot like 5-6 air balls. Like he had a game of nothing but air balls pretty much, right? And at first he was embarrassed. But then he realized that the Kobe Bryant wasn't important enough to be embarrassed. And that is such a stoic perception. Okay? And that's the approach I take today. So nothing that I have ever done is so embarrassing that I would be embarrassed by telling you about it, or shameful that I would be embarrassed about saying it today. Nothing. Okay? And so when we take a look at how the Father directed Noah, the specific things that he gave him to do, your life and my life is orchestrated in such a way. Okay? It is down to the very detail, down to the very inch, down to the very cubic inch, down to the centimeter, millimeter, whatever's lesser than a millimeter, whatever that is. I'm not thinking about what that is now. But whatever that is, excuse me, confirmation burps. But your life is exacting, right? There is a plumb line for your life. Thank you. There's a plumb line for your life. Okay? Those of you who are not familiar with the plumb line, it's a way to create a straight line. Okay? That exacting is your life. When we come into that realization, again, it will help us to make better choices that usher in more truth, more of our soul tribe, more of our high vibrational light workers, star seeds, earth angels, the collective that are meant to be on our purposes, rather than the diseases that show up and in our low vibration self we have taken part, or we have partaken of. Okay? My name is Nehru. You've been tuned into The Encourager. Thank you so much for listening. And again, any questions or anything, feel free to comment, like, subscribe. What I do here on this channel is not for monetary reasons. That's why I use profanity. That's why I don't care when YouTube block me. That I don't care about any of that stuff, because my goal is to get the truth out. YouTube's dumbass and their algorithms, they're interested in, and yes, I'm saying this on a YouTube channel, I don't care. Their goal is money, profitability. I'm not sacrificing profitability. I'm not sacrificing the truth for profitability. I will never will. I don't care. I never will do that. I'd rather make $2 honest in a day than $50 in a day by stealing, cheating, lying, conniving actions. You've been tuned into The Encourager. My name is Nehru. Thank you so much. As always, be encouraged and know that all that you need is within you. The truth, it is within you. The kingdom, it is within you. Most High, divine source, that deity that created heaven and earth is within you. That created the animals that you love is within you. The trees, the fruit that you love, the flowers that you plant and grow. That deity, his spirit, his pneuma is in you to guide you, to lead you down to the very hair on your head. Right? And people say that one all the time, right? He knows the amount of hair on your knuckles, right? He knows that. Would you not want to be connected and as closely connected to that source as possible? I know I do. So here's my goal. I think I forgot to mention this earlier. So my goal here, when I was talking about the NBA players and growing up early and starting out, I knew from an early age that I was chosen. One of my first emails was ACHOZN, the number 1, a chosen one. That was one of my very first emails or early emails. And so I've known for a long, long time who I was. My goal, like that athlete or community leader or whoever that is that has that within them from birth to so greatly into a specific cause or truth, my goal is to be the greatest obeyer ever. That is my goal. And you might say, you're not going to beat out Jesus. It's not a competition. This is based on how Most High sees me, like he saw Noah. Okay? I'm not talking about based on man's view, because man could go sucker. Yeah. I don't care what man thinks. Again, if you haven't gotten that point from listening to my channel, you're not hearing me. Okay? What I'm saying today, I have no problem standing up in front of a mic saying, no problem standing up in front of whoever saying. It doesn't matter who it is. I would speak this way in front of the President of the United States. He needs to hear this shit for sure, right? His ass is definitely asleep spiritually. And if he's not asleep, he's a reptilian something or other, right? He's yeah. So anyway, and he's not the only one. Trust me. He's the puppet. I was gonna say Muppet. He's the puppet Muppet. But they all are. And so again, until you get someone intuitive in office, we had that opportunity in the 60s. They assassinated him. And that's just what I believe. Okay, that's just what I believe. So anyway, thank you so much again for tuning in. Tune in next time, whenever that next time happens to be. Wherever you are today, wherever you find yourself in your walk with Most High, in your journey here in the 3D Matrix, I hope you are each and every day coming into greater and greater enlightenment of who you are, why you're here, and what that long-term picture looks like. All right. Be encouraged. Thank you so much for tuning in. Talk to you soon.